Examining beliefs. As more of humanity awakens, the range of societal problems that are purposely generating devastating harm and destruction connected to authoritarian power abuses and monstrous crimes against humanity have become increasingly evident. How can it be that so many reasonable, intelligent, and good-hearted humans have become grossly enmeshed in the controlled narrative and unable to discern egregious lies and gaslighting tactics used to perpetuate and accept these many global crimes being made against humanity? The old 3D paradigm and its control narratives are sinking fast, which means an incredible amount of data dumps filled with much more difficult disclosure-related information will continue to explode into the surface view for more people to see. This will be a difficult time for many humans to mentally and emotionally process this ongoing rabbit hole of painful disclosure information, revealing the brutal facts of those who have orchestrated these crimes and those who accepted the bribes to go along with the anti-human agenda. During this transition, those already awakened will find themselves being put into positions of giving reinforcement and moral support to others when they come to realize what is actually happening. For those that have been awake for a while, we now better understand how our fellow humans during World War II allowed the loading up of families onto the train boxcars, the single queue lines headed for the gas chambers, or the one-shot bullet used to kill several at once when they were told to stand in a line so as to not waste any ammunition. The painful, gut-churning result of what we are living through at this time is seeing up close and personal the belief system indoctrination in the 3D paradigm, along with the hidden sinister motivations that have infected the collapsing segments of society. Further, some of us have been horrified observing the pathological negative ego's justification in certain people that find the conditions in which it is made acceptable to destroy families and long-term relationships, using rhetoric in which soft kill methods or the outright murdering of fellow humans is somehow defensible, through not belonging to the same classification group or having the same belief systems. This is the incredibly painful knowledge that indeed, belief systems can inform ideology to permeate mob mentality, which further engenders purely evil agendas that are carried out through the plight of dark egoic ignorance, denial, and fear. Those that remain unaware of their fear-based actions as they carry out these anti-human agendas are being motivated by their hidden subconscious desires to remain connected to the larger group classifications, which deep down they consider themselves intrinsically a part. All of humanity is observing a stark lesson of unethical actions being taken via the harmful beliefs that have infected many minds. People who are not inherently evil can be used to commit evil actions through the belief system indoctrination they have been exposed to within authoritative group settings, which in the Marxist to communist totalitarian model specifies that classifications be made to label smaller groups. Conveniently, the assigned labels of jabbed versus unjabbed fits the totalitarian model of divide and conquer perfectly. The pawns of the controllers are being rewarded to regurgitate the propaganda that is required to remain loyal to the objectives of that larger elite group's totalitarian agenda, the global health mafia, which is intentionally shaping the acceptable belief systems of the approved narratives and captured media talking points. Buried deep in the dark subconscious of humanity, every individual wants to belong somewhere, to be considered a part of the group they most identify with. Thus, unaware people can be easily manipulated and threatened by others in supposed authoritative positions in order to shape their belief systems into something inherently evil and immoral. Effectively, their subconscious fears will remain buried in denial, which prevents them from taking a courageous moral stand in order to avoid being ostracized and persecuted by others. The trauma behind the persecution complex, combined with physical threats, are powerful methods used by the controllers to gain compliance, as we've seen in the countless examples of those carrying out genocidal programs via the Western medical belief systems. Thus, we are observing evil being committed every day by those who are darkly ignorant, while insisting that they are justified and virtuous people as they are committing their evil actions against others, when the majority of them are being explicitly groomed, rewarded, or monetized by some segment of the anti-human controller system. How much money, social status, fame, power, or promotion does it take for the negative ego in the 3D ideological belief system to justify itself to take destructive and harmful actions that are inherently evil, immoral, and anti-human? The controllers are essentially the international bankers, which have unlimited financial resources to bribe, blackmail, and intimidate the majority of those put into positions of authoritarian power, who are the cronies being used to carry out these crimes. The global health mafia became the top-down enforcer of aggressive human genocidal agendas being run methodically and efficiently across the world. We can see in real time who has complied with the evil agendas through the indoctrinated belief systems spread by the propaganda machine spewing out the controlled narrative, along with the constant seeding of divisive language for the intended classification of groups of people into ever smaller labels that are being used for perpetuating victimizer mind control. Those that have lost their humanity and empathy may now consider those with different belief systems, or those who choose to be unjabbed, as a direct threat to them or even their enemy. Thus, we will see who is who in the final spiritual battle as those individuals and groups that have demonstrated their willingness to lead their fellow humans into the slaughterhouse for money, power, greed, fear, and 3D ideology will be recognizable. This is the brutal phase of global awakening where we must see the evil being perpetuated in the name of assorted indoctrinated belief systems and ideologies that are supposedly rooted in virtuous actions or social justice. One day soon, these illusions and deceptions will come crashing down, and the actual truth behind the motivations of these ideologies will finally be seen and known. The oceanic waves of pure consciousness are turning the tide against those who have been perpetuating horrible lies, and as the larger truth is revealed to more of the masses, the ones at the top orchestrating these agendas are desperately scrambling to save their own skin. Thus, every individual will be forced to look inside at themselves, at the part they have played in these tragic conditions to hurt others or help others, as this examination of inner motivations and outer belief systems is happening within families, communities, organizations, and within the entirety of the human race. Those acting in dark ignorance must face the immense betrayals of being led by the egoic self and others' deceptive propaganda to unwittingly commit evil agendas orchestrated through the hidden plotting of organized criminals, perpetual liars, and the authoritarian establishments that they had gained control over. Does the majority of the medical community understand that through its complicity, it has betrayed the trust of humanity at global levels, that doctors, nurses, medical professionals, hospitals, and senior care homes have been used as indoctrinated killing machines? There will be no way for the medical industry to reclaim that trust from the public again, when so many medical professionals did not stand up for their fellow humans and advocate for their patients' bodily autonomy, or protect their right to choose their own methods to pursue personal health and well-being. Harshly and grotesquely, many of our elderly died painful deaths in total isolation from loved ones, or without a decent standard of care, where many appear to be victims of incentivized genocide. Many medical professionals are complicit in carrying out the most vile and evil agenda for perpetuating global human genocide and incentivized murder for hire that we've ever lived through at this worldwide scale. Due to the current events in the global scape, our offering is to help support the clear understanding that during this stage, each individual will be responsible to examine their own personal belief systems and ideologies for ethical conduct and moral alignment, which will spur on the conscious participation to release 3D ego and 3D paradigm-related attachments. As mentioned above, it is our unexamined belief systems which can instigate unconscious fears and evil actions, which are used to perpetuate mass harm in total dark ignorance, when we are not aware that we are being groomed by manipulating liars to carry out such devastating harm. Our beliefs, behaviors, and attitudes will be placed on the altar before the natural laws of our spiritual creation, in which we will be forced to look at the moral standing of our personal motivations, perceptions, and ideological systems. Without moral alignment which is coherent with the natural laws of God, the existing constructs, structures, and related systems will collapse. It is highly possible that many of us will come to observe some people around us becoming emotionally and mentally disturbed as a result of these ugly and painful levels of the truth surfacing, along with indisputable evidence of crimes in which they may descend into fractured stages of psychotic break. Lifestyles and personal paradigms which people use to make sense of their lives will become increasingly upended, throwing people that are fully vested in the 3D paradigm into states of confusion and despair. It will become a parade of public people, celebrities, and those professionals that we were taught to trust in their expert advice, being revealed as participants in the grotesque deceptions of paid-for spokespeople for the deep state controller agendas, which will instigate painful feelings of deep emotional betrayal when this is recognized. Being connected to the truther and spiritual communities, it is important to recognize why this is happening, how this is happening, and to gather the context, tools, and helpful information that can be used to best help our family and friends to make it through this painful transition. Many people will be in shock when exposed to the ongoing saturation of data dumps and disclosure information. From the intergalactic spiritual perspective, the planet's architecture underwent a series of bifurcation events that greatly amplified polarities, which lent to an aggressive level of spiritual warfare in the form of global trauma-based mind control. Thus, what we can see happening in the outer scape is the result of collective consciousness indoctrinated belief systems that formed into the destructive ideologies of the anti-human culture that has been ruthlessly enforced in the controller pillars of society. As humanity awakens, each individual will be required to examine their learned personal belief systems in order to transition into the shifting architecture of the consciousness rebirth required in the new ascending world. We are living through the planetary emancipation cycle, which will push all of the subconscious and conscious belief systems into the surface view for detailed examination. We must determine if these beliefs and ideologies are destructive and harmful to the human race, and if so, we must stop feeding the anti-human control agendas or personally suffer the consequences of our own actions.